listening to the Scoop Slam Podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Scoop Slam Podcast. We are back. Another weekend of wrestling to break down as WWE brought us BackLash this past weekend. We were live on TikTok, so if you were there, we appreciate you. We had a great time. Lots of people came and showed out, and apparently we have been dubbed new nicknames. So I am Scoop of the Scoop Slam Podcast, and as always, on the other end of the call, the co-host, the historian, Slam.
Hey, that's Mr. Slam to you, thank you. And yeah, Micah, we were good enough to call BackLash. Thought it was a good show, and we lost a member of the wrestling family this week. So, we got a lot to get into this week.
Yeah, I think we basically have to open up the show. I don't think there's anything we could open it up with other than this. Obviously, a big loss in the wrestling fandom. Sabu passed May 11th, 2025, which was this past Sunday on Mother's Day. Lots of stuff came in about, what he meant. Very influential, homicidal, suicidal, genocidal. That whole run throughout ECW, somewhat into WWE, like his match with John Cena, some of the one-night stand stuff. But obviously a very influential wrestler into what would become the style of wrestling and hardcore wrestling going into the 10s and the 20s and obviously the current era that we're in now. So yeah, he was 60 years old, and Ryan, I know you've watched a little bit more of his stuff than I have, so what does Sabu exactly mean to you?
Well, it's tough, Mike. I was never a big fan of his style per se, but you had to be blind to not recognize that Sabu was way ahead of his time and a very innovative performer in the ring. However, outside the ring, Micah, he was not a great person. You can look up the accusations, the tweets that he said himself. They're out there. They don't paint him in a very favorable light. But if we separate the artist from the person, then, he'll be known as a very influential superstar in the world of professional wrestling.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a hard thing when stuff like this happens because we talked about it off air. A lot of wrestlers behind the scenes are pieces of garbage, and most of the time either have been horrific drug abusers or beaten or cheated on their spouse or made racial comments or almost killed people. Or killed people in some instances.
We had murderers.
So, yeah, but like you said, separate the art from the artist, but at the same time, when you are looking at the synopsis of a life, things do, they're worth mentioning. And what aggravates me is to see people online that, I guess, make excuses for people being bad human beings by, the hard style that he had and the drugs he took, I'm sure he has some CTE or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's true, but that still doesn't excuse somebody going online at 50 years old and just tweeting the N-word for no other reason.
Yeah, and it's crazy that those type of people make excuses for Sabu, but Hulk Hogan is literally, the devil incarnate for what he said. So I'm not understanding this, Mike. Where's the what? So we can draw a line if we like the style of wrestling that they performed.
I guess that's really funny you bring that up because I saw a picture today of Hogan and you may have seen the same picture. He did not look good. His eyes were real bloodshot and it wasn't a favorable picture of him, I'll just say that. But people were quote tweeting it and they're like, boy, this app's going to be hilarious when he dies. And then
Okay.
you sent me that article later, and I was like, you know, where's that vitriol for Sabu? So I
Yeah.
don't know. To the same token as Hogan, obviously an influence, a legend of the sport, but there's also people behind those characters they portray.
Yeah. Was Benjamin Shelton in that picture?
Now, I don't think he made an appearance. I think he stated it pretty obvious, his thoughts
Okay.
on Hulk Hogan last
All right.
week.
All right. Just make sure.
But speaking of pieces of crap human beings, there's obviously some controversy around the Sabu situation, considering what has
Oof.
came out on Twitter the past couple days. And I want to first preface this with this is all hearsay and or allegations. So I'm not reporting this as a fact, but I'm solely just telling you what happened. Now, Sabu last month during WrestleMania weekend, so I don't even think it's been a month ago. The 20th or
It's
the 19th will make a month
been
ago.
it's been like 3 weeks.
Yeah. So Joey Janela did an interview after because Sabu and Joey Janela had a match. It was Sabu's retirement match. There was some wild bumps in there. We won't have to go into heavy detail about them, but look at the video and see if you would want to do that in the age that you're listening to this podcast in.
Wait, pause, Micah. Did you see the match or did you see highlights of the match?
I saw the highlights.
Bro, it looked so bad. And when Sabu took that bump on the concrete, bro, his head hit so hard in concrete. And apparently, because I watched the highlight video, so I caught the the high spots. But apparently, when that happened, they shot away from Sabu for like 5 or 10 minutes.
Oh, I bet he landed square on his head.
Yeah, but it's just amazing. People were making this. Oh, it wasn't that bad of a bump. Well, they shot away for 10 minutes apparently. So obviously something was happening. Bro was getting medical attention or smelling salts were brought out. I don't know. Man. It's just at 60 years old.
Well, that's the thing I was about to say. I'm 23 at the time of recording. I wouldn't want to be doing what Sabu did, and I'm not even half of his age. So, yeah, I don't understand why this was booked in the first place, from GCW's standpoint. But I want to read this interview that Joey Janela did. It's a little long, but I feel like it's worth reading in case you can't find it on the internet. This is quotes from Joey Janela. What do you mean Sabu can't walk? They said yes, Sabu something with his knee. It's locked up. He can't walk and his feet are bleeding. He's not coming. I said, well, Sabu's effed. So we talked to another wrestler, Matt Tremont, and Tremont is about to be the replacement for the match. And I, Joey Janela, feel like this... Joey Janela, feel like this is going to be the most embarrassing moment of my wrestling career.
Nah, come on now. Remember he got beat up last month?
Or the various... I mean, how many embarrassing things has GCW done? But I think the real problem here lies with that line. I feel like this is going to be the most embarrassing moment of my wrestling career. Joey Janela is prioritizing himself over the health and welfare of a 60-year-old man.
A 60-year-old man that apparently was his hero. So, goes to show, as we think of his heroes.
So he continued, there's 2,000 people here. This is one of the biggest spring breaks ever, that's what the event is called. The biggest crowd Mania weekend indie-wise, and I'm going to have to go out there and announce that Sabu once again no-showed, and he no-showed his own retirement match. He goes on to say, we're an hour into the show, and I say, just get Sabu here. Janela continued, so they gave him something called Kratom. And I'm not implying or saying that Joey Janela is the one that orchestrated or gave him the drug. But somebody out there made a conscious decision to give a 60-year-old man a drug so he could go take stupid bumps in a barbed wire ring. You can buy it at a smoke shop or something. It's a legal opiate. They said he's hopping on the bed. He's hopping off the bed. We're going to get him to the show. So he shows up 2 hours into the show, and Sabu was on a different planet. Everybody in the backstage area was like, is this match going to happen? And my God, did it happen.
So they gave him drugs so he could go out there. Bro, and if this had anything to do with Sabu's death, and we don't know, because nothing's been announced, but that's criminal negligence, bro. The promoter or Joey himself can go to prison for this.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. This is all allegations, so I don't know.
He admitted to it, though. So.
Well, I'm more saying I don't know that this directly influenced anything that caused Sabu's passing.
Okay.
But the fact that people are excusing this from the company's standpoint, or the fact that Joey was more concerned about his career than Sabu being on a different planet. Like, you know what Sting did when Jeff Hardy was backstage on a different planet? He went out there and protected both of them. Because when somebody goes out there on who knows what, you don't know what could happen. And wrestlers talk about it all the time. You are entrusting your body and your livelihood to the other person in the ring.
Yeah.
So what does that say about how GCW operates as a business? That they're okay with sending a visibly high 60-year-old man out there.
And they cleared him to wrestle, bro. Like, if AEW didn't clear Sabu to wrestle, which that was supposed to happen a couple years ago, Sabu was supposed to... Remember he came back during the Adam Cole feud with Jericho? Was Jericho?
Yeah. Yeah, because he did a dive off the table onto Jericho, I think. Or one of Jericho's goons.
If AEW didn't clear Sabu, then what does that tell you about GCW? I can't believe WWE is working with GCW.
I don't know. They are not a promotion that I care for or care to give
money to.
Money or airtime to, and that's why we don't really talk about them, because I get that like ECW was this cult phenomenon and they ran on kind of scummy principles, but I think GCW is a whole nother entity when you have some of the just dumb, like Joey Janela setting himself on fire and they didn't have a fire extinguisher handy, or the AEW World Champion.
His most embarrassing moment.
Yeah. Oh, but God forbid a 60-year-old man say, I'm not fit to compete, right? Or the AEW World Champion John Moxley going to GCW and choking a guy out while he shoves his hand in his tights and plays with himself.
What about the syringe spot? Was that GCW?
I think that was XPW. I mean, two sides of the same coin.
Okay. All right. Point still stands, though.
One last thing I want to bring up, because this is one of the most ridiculous responses I've seen to this, and go figure, it's a guy, it's at the Email J, and he is going by his bio on Twitter, or X, the voice of GCW, tweeted, "Oh great, a bunch of people born after the year 2000 are, if not blaming outright, they are at least implicating that Joey Janela versus Sabu played a role in Sabu's death, and I'm begging each and every one of them to get a grip, experience real life, and pardon my language, ladies and gentlemen, go F themselves."
Okay.
So this clown is defending the fact that they sent a 60-year-old man out there on drugs, visibly on drugs,
and then beat him up, slam him into the concrete, and a few weeks later he dies unexpectedly. I don't know, man. I don't know. I feel like we can connect the dots here.
I truly hope that is not what caused it. I hope it was just natural, old, he's an older gentleman. But I don't care if Sabu wanted to do the match. It does not matter. Just because I want to go wrestle doesn't mean that you pay me to come wrestle unexperienced. Like, GCW made a conscious decision to bring Sabu in after he had already no-showed them at one point in time. So just because Sabu wants to get a retirement match doesn't mean that you have to fund it. Just like they didn't have to fund Ric Flair's a couple years ago when he's 72.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. You see Janela backpedaling?
Oh, yeah. Because I guarantee you they probably haven't ran an autopsy. So they probably don't know what it is yet. And they're probably a little scared.
I can imagine, yeah. Mr. Janela went out there and admitted that he gave Sabu drugs, bro.
Yeah, or somebody did. I don't know that Janela specifically handed him Kratom, but somebody did so that he could go out there and wrestle Joey Janela. And people are like, oh, well, it's not like an addictive like drug or anything. It helps people come off of drugs. Okay, again, if you saw him in the backstage area and he was on a different planet, what kind of human being does it take to say, nah, he's fine. He's fine. We'll send him out there.
Yeah. Lace him
If
up.
he dies, he dies.
Well,
But
wish.
Needless to say, very sad. Rest in peace, Sabu, an innovator of the sport, a legend of ECW. And I truly hope that none of that was the cause. I hope he just passed of natural causes.
Yeah, man. Rest in peace. But I'm sure we'll talk about this story in the next couple weeks.
Oh, it's going to develop, I'm sure. It's not over.
No.
But speaking of things that are over, WWE BackLash was this past Saturday. Like I said, if you weren't there during our stream on TikTok, you need to make sure that you're there next time. We have really good time on there. Me and Ryan both talk. We watch the shows. We talk with the chat, have some good wrestling discussions. And it's just really fun all around. So make sure you check in the description of this episode so you can follow us on TikTok so you can be there next time. We should go live for... I don't think we're going to make Money in the Bank, but I think maybe Saturday night's main event, now that they put Punk on the card.
That's a week from Saturday.
Jeez. It feels like they have 30 events right now. And then from like September to December, it'll be like one pay-per-view.
Yeah. But we're in a drought, though, for the last couple months. Like, Rumble, it was Chamber to WrestleMania. It was almost 2 months, wasn't it?
Yeah, something like that. Or
Yeah.
it was like a month and a half, I think, because Chamber was like the beginning of March, and then WrestleMania was basically late April. But to start Backlash off, we had the United States Championship Fatal 4-Way match. Jacob Fatu versus Damian Priest versus LA Knight versus Drew McIntyre.
Good match.
Yeah. I think it very well could have been match of the night. It's not my personal, but
Wow.
I wouldn't look at anybody sideways if they said that.
Match of the night, really.
It was fun. It was fast paced. I thought it was a very good start, and a very good finish. And it kind of leaves you begging questions. Who is Jeff Cobb? How's he going to fit in the bloodline? So I thought it was pretty good all around.
Well, before the finish, Drew almost killed himself on that South of Heaven choke slam on the concrete. Do you remember seeing that?
Yeah, I didn't catch it in real time, but I remember somebody in the chat saying like, "Wow, I think Drew landed on his head," and then they just never shot Drew for the rest of the match.
Yeah, I think there's a report out there from PW Insider that said that he's okay, but he was shaken up after the fall.
I
You just
bet
can't catch a break if you Drew, man. Can't catch a break.
No, not at all. And I don't know. I mean, it sucks, but at the same time, Did they need to do that ridiculous table spot all the way out there? I don't think it was exactly needed for this match.
No, especially when you're having more table spots later on in the night. But Micah, we're missing the whole point of this. Do we really need to see Drew McIntyre versus Damian Priest again? Or I'm
No.
sick of it. I feel like they've been feuding for a long time now. 3 months. Is this feud personal enough to warrant a 3-month long feud? I don't know. I don't think so. I'd rather Drew do something else.
Well, two, and this is just a pet peeve of mine. I don't like when feuds carry out of WrestleMania. Unless,
I'm about to say Backlash. That's the whole point of Backlash.
well, it depends. Like, if it's a world title feud that's really hot, or if it's a WrestleMania feud that, like, kind of leads into what's ever going to happen at SummerSlam. But WrestleMania feels like the be-all, end-all for, like, the Damian Priest and Drew McIntyres of the world in terms of rivalries. You know what I mean? You have your big match at the biggest show of the year. That should be the end.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But ultimately, and we've talked about how big of fans we are of Drew on the show, and that they could probably be doing more with him. I think Damian Priest could heavily benefit from an absence for a little bit.
Really? Do we still have hope in Priest at this point? I feel like he is who he is.
Well, it feels like every time we're on stream and we're watching him together, we say, what is he missing? You know, he's got the voice, he's got the look, he's got the music, like everything about him.
Maybe he just ain't got
main
it.
Event. But do you think maybe it's the Moxley thing? Like if he goes away for 6 months, come back at SummerSlam, like maybe we get somewhere?
I don't think so, because he's never had it. Have we ever been big fans of his work overall? When he was in Judgment Day, he was okay, but that may be his ceiling, Micah or Scoop. I don't. I think this is it.
I'm not denying that this could be the pinnacle for Priest. I still think he could benefit from it, and I don't know exactly how you would write him off TV. Maybe Jeff Cobb beats him up or whatever, and that kind of gets him some heat. I don't really know, but it's just not clicking because I don't feel like no matter what they've done with him in the past year, he has been like must-see TV to anybody.
And Priest is 41, 42 now. So,
jeez.
Yeah, the time is running out, bro. He may be who he is. He may always miss that intangible that we just can't quite put our finger on. This may be who he is, but I mean, we'll see. Hopefully, they can impress us with I did enjoy Drew's and Damian's WrestleMania match, so maybe they can have another good match, and maybe that'll change my perspective on Priest at the moment. But the big news of this match, Micah, the debut of Jeff Cobb.
Another 41 or 42-year-old that I had no clue because he doesn't look that old.
Filipino Rhino. That's what people online call him.
Well, he could pass. They could be brothers or cousins.
They got the build. Don't they have the build? They have the same build, bro. I swear. Is he like 5'9"? He's like the size of a fridge, and he's like 5'9". It's crazy.
I think he's shorter than Jacob.
He's got that Otis build. You know how Otis is just like he's short, but he's so wide.
He's built like Maui.
Yeah, exactly. They got so many short giants on the roster.
Well, see, that's what I'm interested to see. Obviously, the bloodline, I think we as wrestling fans can kind of tell where this is going, which is they're going to run an angle. You know, Jacob doesn't trust him. He comes to trust him. Then they turn on him. Then we get Solo and Jacob at SummerSlam. That's where this looks like it's going. But further down the line, I saw this on Twitter. I would give credit if I remember the tweet. I think him and Bronson as a tag team, man, that would be crazy.
You saying you want a return of Meat Madness? Was that
Well,
AEW? It was a Meat Madness. Do you want to see that?
I think more of a natural disasters would be
Oh, okay,
less of
a
a
short,
pause.
short natural disasters. Can you
I
imagine
mean,
a trio with him, Otis, and Jeff Cobb?
oh Jesus, put Otis in the main event though. He could
Okay,
be a main event heel.
okay, I'm listening. Rusev in there too. But
Yeah,
Rusev ain't as
okay.
beefy as he used to be.
Nah, he's thinned down some. There's another.
Yeah.
There's got to be another beefcake somewhere on that roster.
Is Over count? Is he too tall?
Nah, too tall.
So that Gunther's out the question. Then.
Yeah,
Gunther
he's
get a
too
little. He get a little. He ain't as lean as he used to be.
good. I honestly think it looks better with the weight. I mean, not in an outside of wrestling presence, I guess, but like in the ring, he looks so much more intimidating when he was walking around at like 280.
You want to be chubby?
Yeah, want to be Walter. Poor
Okay.
Walter.
Okay.
If what I'm hearing is true. Anyways, we're getting on a tangent. Ryan, I'm really interested to know from you. Do you think that they being WWE or the Bloodline, do you think they needed Jeff Cobb?
Did they need Jeff Cobb? I think the storyline needed Jeff Cobb, yes, because now Solo has his new right hand man, which Jacob Fatu was supposed to be, but Jacob Fatu has surpassed Solo. So we could run the classic jealousy angle. Now Solo's calling the shots and he ain't including Jacob Fatu. So we sowing more seeds for dissension. And this gives Jacob Fatu a great opponent, bro. Are you saying Solo versus Jacob at SummerSlam? Nah. Can you imagine Jeff Cobb versus Jacob Fatu at SummerSlam?
Oh, that'll be crazy.
Yeah.
Because
They could steal the show.
Jeff's work, I've seen a couple things in AEW. Obviously, I'm not.
He lost 2 times to Dean Ambrose.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with his New Japan stuff, but he has been impressing. He's somebody who like you kind of have to watch him in a match just to see what's going to happen. So him and Jacob, because that's another thing I wrote down during this match. Like I think Jacob is one of the most must-see newcomers that WWE has had in a long time. Like you're just interested in his TV matches just to see what he's going to do.
The crazy stuff that he's going to do, and the fans are organically getting on his side, which that's hard to get the organic fan engagement nowadays, especially when you're supposed to be a nasty savage like heel. I mean, how many times when does that ever happen?
Not that I can remember, because like Umaga was that same kind of,
Yeah.
but it never worked in his favor, which kind of deterred me from thinking that they were going to do the split, because I was like, man, I just don't know that I buy Jacob as a face. But he's starting to get in that area, which we talk about all the time is the perfect way to be as a wrestler, where you can be yourself, heel or face. And Jacob is just being himself, and so the fans are just gravitating towards that. So he really doesn't have to change anything he's doing now when he's technically a heel, because the fans are still cheering him now.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's already starting to get the babyface like catchphrases over with the live audience. So, the sky's the limit, bro. Sky's the limit. Him and Jeff Cobb have faced each other in the past, by the way.
Really? Where MLW?
Yeah, I think it was MLW.
It makes me mad. I can't roll my R's or anything, so I can't do the Jacob catchphrase.
You know what I mean?
But I still do like the promo he cut on Braun, right, on that Saturday night's main event, post to post, coast to coast. That's up there for one of the promos of the year, honestly.
Like, come on now. I liked it, but come on now. Promo of the
Well,
year?
I can't really, other than Paul Heyman the other night. I don't know much else I can. What would you want me to put John Cena and his ruining wrestling on there?
I remember CM Punk came out the night after Cena turned heel and just cut a scathing
Oh,
on everybody. I thought that was pretty good.
that's
But
true.
yeah,
Okay.
I get your point. I get your point. We probably spent way too long in this match, but yeah, excited to see the monster Matanza finally in WWE. It's crazy that Lucha Underground had so many of their guys now top stars in WWE and AEW, like 10 years later.
That's why we need a good third brand of like something different. Not, an ECW clone or not AEW. I mean, it is different. Like AEW is different than WWE, but like Lucha Underground was innovative. And I can't really say that there's anything like that today where it's just something completely fresh.
Yeah, yeah. Ricochet, Santos Escobar, your
Penta?
man Swerve, yep, Penta, Phoenix, Jeff Cobb. Oh, you name them. Chelsea Green. Yeah, you name them. They went to Lucha Underground. Io Sky, Kyrie Sane. All these are Lucha Underground alum.
Yeah. Plus they had the old cast too. John Morrison, Jake
Yeah,
Hager,
Chavo,
uh
Ray,
Chavo.
Del
Yep.
Rio. Oh, Jake Hager was garbage. And Lucha Underground that killed the business.
Oh, he was never. I mean, was he
He was
good anywhere?
he was the last Lucha Underground champion, bro. I'm still eating up by that.
God. Well, moving on, we got the Women's Intercontinental Championship match: Becky Lynch versus Lyra Valkyria.
With
Dog.
with Lyra's boyfriend in the corner, which he got a lot of attention online.
Dude, apparently, I better take my comments back that I said on live because apparently he's pretty good in the ring and like he had the Clark Kent going on because Buddy's actually kind of ripped.
You like a dungeon master though. Why do you go with that look?
I
What's
don't
that
know,
look?
man.
What was going on there?
I feel like you would want to like, really appear to be in shape and, maybe you could get a
Yeah,
developmental contract and
you like a
instead
twink.
he like you worked at Dunder Mifflin.
Oh man, yeah, people were going a little too hard on me online. It's crazy, People say, "Oh, you can't body shame Cora Jade," but Lyra Valkyria's husband. Oh man, how this Ugo pull Lyra? What? Okay, all right.
It's crazy what glasses does to a man. As somebody who has to wear glasses, man, it
Yeah,
warps your whole perception.
yeah, I can agree with
Uh, Now I do have to admit I was not exactly looking forward to this match. I've obviously been critical of Becky Lynch in the past, but this one it started kind of slow, but by the end of it, I thought this was a very, very good match. Probably Lyra's best match, which kind of goes to show, you were talking about a couple weeks ago, Charlotte has all these ladies' best matches. Same with Becky, but you can't say that with the new crop of wrestlers unless they're in there with somebody like Charlotte and Becky. But
hold up. I think Lyra's really good in there. She doesn't really have bad matches. So I don't
I
know if
just
I'm
haven't
giving all the
exactly.
credit to Becky.
I don't think all the credit should go to Becky. Not like the Charlotte Tiffany match because that I still thought was overwhelmingly not good, and this was
No.
a good women's match. But I guess Lyra just hasn't been compelling to me. Like her entire run,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I've just been, oh, okay, yeah, she's the champion. And the only match I really remember her having was the one against Nia Jax. And that was, I think, before the Intercontinental Championship.
Oh yeah.
And
When she got
Nia,
squashed.
I was about to say, Nia just pancaked her.
I treat a lot of Lyra's matches as bathroom breaks, but when I do come back from the bathroom, Micah, she always impresses me. And and this match, she turned the crowd in her favor because they started out just all pro Becky, but a little bit halfway through, you started to get, let's go Lyra, let's go Becky chance. it was more 50-50 than what it started out.
Oh yeah, and I think her style lends to that too because she has that high flying, like eye grabbing style. But there was a lot of like good technical wrestling in here too. I just think coming out of this, I'm more interested in Lyra, obviously because she won, which was a very unexpected finish because we were like in the middle of talking about like, oh, I think they're gonna pitch the finish here in just a minute, and bam, roll up 1, 2, 3.
It was a weird finish because he poked her in the eye. Becky poked Lyra in the eyes.
Yeah, and then it looked like Lyra, like she was holding her nose and everything because I don't know that she broke it, but I assumed because she was holding it forever, but maybe it was just a really good sell.
Yeah.
But I'm more interested in her coming out of this as well because of the great match and of the fact that she got the win, which I think it accomplished all the goals that they were going for.
Did you see Becky's promo the night after?
I did not.
Apparently, people online were praising it, but I was in the room when it was happening, Micah, and I didn't think it was particularly compelling. And Lyra didn't interrupt Becky or anything like that, so we'll see. They didn't really capitalize on the momentum that Lyra grabbed in this match that she had with Becky. Well, I guess maybe she was selling the beatdown that Becky gave her after the match, but you don't see a beatdown like that a lot in post matches because Becky started attacking Lyra as soon as the bell rang.
Oh yeah. Which I think adds some realism to it because you're immediately pissed that you lost. You know what I mean? You're not going to sit there and sulk about it and should I do this? Like, nah, she's a full-fledged heel. You know, I think it makes sense for her to turn around and just start waylaying.
It was pretty funny though.
Yeah, because like she immediately got out of the pin and just wham.
She should have went outside, and hit her man or something like that. I don't know.
Oh, she could have probably taken him. But I don't know, man. He might have stood up.
You just praised him.
Hey, man, the glasses come off. He's 6'3" and he's built like Henry Cavill. And then, never mind. I'll back up. But overall, yeah, I'm interested to see what goes on with Becky and Lyra coming out of this. But a very good match that I was kind of just thinking was going to be phoned in.
Yeah, 2 for 2 so far. Pretty good match.
Next matchup was for the Men's Intercontinental Championship. Dominic Mysterio versus Penta. And Ryan, or Slam, I should say. I really only remember the diving DDT at the beginning of the match. And then after that, it kind of is just a blur. So I may need you to take the reins on this one. Because I don't remember it being bad. But I think this was just the middle of the show, and I was anticipating the next two matches.
Yeah, this is the weakest match on the show. Felt like a Raw match, which it isn't necessarily a bad thing. It just nothing compelling happened. Nothing that we haven't seen in almost every Judgment Day affiliated match in the last 3 years. Dom is expanding his move set by hitting the Oblivion and the tornado diving, suicide DDT type maneuver, and the little Hurricane Rana that he hit in the match. So, you can see the strides that Dom is taking. But if he's going to be a heel, I don't know if he should be able to do moves like that. Especially when the fans are starting to cheer him. Like, I don't know if you're catching this. But
oh yeah,
it's not a one-off thing anymore. People are cheering Dom. The fans turned heel for some reason after WrestleMania.
Well, that's why I'm kind of ready for this whole Judgment Day thing to be over. I know they're stretching it till SummerSlam. It looks like, at least. But
at least, yeah.
I just, I'm kind of out of it. Like you said, it's been 3 years now. They're very run-of-the-mill. You know there's going to be a run-in. But it's not like the Bloodline, where it's like top guys doing run-ins. It's Penn Balor.
Oh, man. You got JD out there.
Oh, I mean, it's only like one step lower.
Okay, come on now. We like JD. I thought we were fans of this.
He does his stuff well. I'll give him that. But
I'd rather him than Penn Balor.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Honestly, I think old Penn has a little more aura just because he's been there for a while. But at least with JD, he might like scrap a win together or something. But
Yeah. Got Carlito. They need to let Carlito
I
be
like
more
Carlito more than both of them.
Carlito Jack too. He needs to take Dom wherever he's going and getting whatever he's getting. And Dom just need to travel with Carlito from now on.
Need to bring his lunch to work.
Yeah. Apples. Bring a lot of
Yeah.
apples.
Steroid infused apples.
Oh, come on.
But anyways, we'll move on to the next match, which was the one that I was looking forward to most. Pat McAfee versus Gunther, a very hated match online. Oh, I was actually going to ask you a second ago. You put a little flavor on the word move set. Do you not like that term?
Well, it is. I don't know, man. It's like when people say character. I just don't like. I don't like words like that. You just sound like a mark when you say stuff like that. You know.
I don't think character bothers me as much as move set.
Character just makes it seem more fake.
Well,
Like,
your guy, The Rock,
oh, come on.
he
Why
loves
we
his
bringing up
character work.
Why we bringing up Dwayne? He is enjoying his time away from the company. He's filming a very good movie, The Smashing Machine, and you want to just run his name through the dirt. What's wrong with you? What did Dwayne ever do to you?
He's trying to
Besides
figure
being
out
the
that
most.
Rubik's Cube.
Hey now, hey, I'm just saying he put that Rubik's Cube in the shot and wore that New Japan shirt, and 2 days later, boom, AAA bought. So I don't know, man. We may be one of these days we're gonna get the headline that WWE now owns New Japan. I wouldn't be surprised.
Are the Forbidden Doors closing, Ryan? That's what they
Uh,
should have named the Worlds Collide event. They should have named it like Door Stopper or something like that. That would have been funny.
supposedly TNA's getting in on that too.
Oh God,
Yeah,
I
that
don't.
World Collage.
I don't know that that's. We
You
get
don't
what
want to.
Joe Hendry versus Alberto Del Rio versus Trick Williams. Is anybody wanting to see that?
We'll get Dolph in there too. You like Dolph?
I like Dolph.
Okay.
But
He's
who's he gonna
Dolph.
work with? Oba?
Uh,
I'll pay for that.
what was the jabroni that um, the Randy Orton clone that they got in NXT?
Oh, Miles Bourne.
Yeah. Dolph wrestle Miles, right? I want to see him cut some promos on Miles. Honestly.
All right. You know what? Miles might cut a better promo, for being honest, than Dolph. But anyways, Pat McAfee versus Gunther was next up. And
wait a minute. Whoa. Dom won that last match, by the way.
Oh
We
yeah.
didn't say that. Okay. All right. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And Penta looked good. I think that they're doing good things with Penta on the main roster. But Pat McAfee versus Gunther, personally, my match of the night. I thought this was excellent.
Do you think that it went a little too long? It went 14 minutes.
Maybe I probably would turn it down to 11.
Okay.
There's a few critiques I have, but I thought that for the most part, this was exactly how it should have been booked. Gunther looked menacing, dominant. He was playing with his food, as they say, and it was very obvious. Like, he was discrediting McAfee, even after McAfee would get some hope spots. Like, he still was like, "Oh, okay, whatever. You're still a jabroni." But the crowd was rocking for Pat, man. Like, they.
Oh yeah.
That's the thing we've been talking about this whole time. People want to hate on this, but Pat gets audience engagement. Like, I would say they were probably up for this match and then the Jacob match the most, just because that was the opener. They were up for the Cena match too. But I think this one probably got some of the loudest crowd reactions. Whenever McAfee did the 3 punts or whatever, and he pinned Gunther and Gunther kicked out at 1, the people exploded.
Yeah. And Michael Cole did a good job here too, on commentary added on when he came to the apron and tried to hype up Pat.
Which that spot where Pat reversed the suplex and Cole held Gunther's legs down for the
They
pin.
got me. They got me. I
Dude.
thought that was it.
I did too, because I thought like, oh, okay, Gunther's gonna have a gripe because they cheated, but oh my god, I remember like in the live, I was like, oh, there ain't no way.
And you know what? Michael Cole saying, hey, for the first time in my commentating career, I'm gonna be unbiased, or I'm gonna be biased here. I was thinking, wait a minute, hold up now. Do you remember the run that heel Michael Cole had when he was Miz's biggest cheerleader for that 2-year stretch?
Oh, that was a D1 first round draft pick glaze right there of Miz for years.
And the constant burial of Daniel Bryan when he came up to the main roster. Even on NXT, do you remember that? He had beef with Daniel Bryan in NXT.
Yeah, which I always thought was kind of funny because when Daniel Bryan came up, he choked out Justin Roberts. I always thought he should have been choking out Michael Cole.
Oh, come on now. It was funny though because during the match, Wade, I forget what happened. Cole jumped up from the commentary desk, and Wade said something to the effect that I can't save you, Cole. Even though Wade is like 6'5", I mean he's still pretty jacked. And he's probably the best technical wrestler they have on the roster. How can you not save Cole, bro? Cole's 60 years old, man. You tell me you couldn't save Cole?
I thought Wade was great on commentary too because he had another. I wish I could remember it, but he had another line in this that was very funny that I didn't catch when we were streaming it, but I saw it later on Twitter or whatever. But I think that Pat and Cole are great, but I thought Wade was very good here in the absence of Pat McAfee. But yeah, that was funny to me because it was, I very much think like Gunther and Wade kind of have the same build. So
yeah, yeah.
But he does a good job of selling to the monster of Gunther. So I got to give him praise for that. One thing that I did like, one thing I didn't like.
Okay.
The chop sequences, which I am normally not a fan of, but I thought that it made sense here. Pat stood in the batter's box and was willing to take a hit, and he was giving them right back to Gunther. And Pat looked like he had been drugged through the mud. Like, dude, he was beat red after all this.
And I know you probably didn't catch Raw, Micah, but apparently Gunther busted one of Pat's blood vessels in his eyes from one of those chops. And I don't know if he was working or not, but they did do a close-up, and his eye was, bloodshot red in that one particular eye. So, Gunther was laying those chops in, bro.
Which is how it should be. I mean, if you're trying to get it over that, like, this guy is outmatched against a true wrestler, former world champion.
Why was this a more physical match than Jay versus Gunther?
I think it was a better match than Jay versus Gunther, for being completely honest here.
Yeah, they told a better story in here.
Yeah, and the finish I liked much better because eventually Gunther just ended it.
Yeah. Do you think Pat stuck around a little too long in Gunther's finisher?
Yeah, I think that kind of ties in with the finish, along with how long it went. I would have changed some of the things, but the main thing that bothered me at the end was the fact that Gunther almost gave him a nod of approval. I didn't care for that.
Yeah, that didn't make much sense either. And
because I still want Gunther to be this douchebag heel,
Well, he always shows respect though. Remember he showed respect to Cody last year?
Well, that's true, but Cody
and Randy.
But those are like top tier guys. I don't feel like he should respect McAfee.
Okay, McAfee ain't on that level. Huh? Well, he stayed in there toe for toe, like you said, and matched up with him. So you don't think he should have earned Gunther's respect?
maybe like over time. Like for instance, we'll just say like Gunther doesn't really try Pat anymore, but
Yeah, I agree. I
I
don't
think it
think it
was
was
the
needed.
visual.
I don't think it was needed personally, especially when Pat just gonna be back on commentary the next day, and Gunther is back feuding with Jey Uso the next day.
Yeah. Which is, I think this is probably the most that I felt in a long time about so many people are vying for a championship shot at Jey Uso because we got the Gunther stuff going on. The Seth stuff is kind of a background because obviously they're feuding with Punk, but it's still the goal, and they said that. Um, Logan is looming as well. So it's very interesting main event scene in Raw right now. Whereas you look across the street at SmackDown and it is just abysmal.
Man, they're gonna have to bring in Punk to feud with. No, actually, they might have to. They might have to put Truth in there to feud with Cena in the meantime.
Oh, I think that's where they're going, aren't they? For Saturday night's main event.
Well, we'll see what they do on Friday, but that seems to be the direction they're going in. Messina may not even be on that show. Who knows? Is he
Yeah.
advertised? I don't think
I'm
he
not
is.
100% sure.
I don't think he is.
Let me ask you one more thing before we move to the main event. Are they doing a brand split, you think? Because normally we get it before now, and they haven't announced it, or I haven't heard any like reports. Are we done with that?
You asking, or you think they're gonna do a draft?
Or a draft? Yeah, not a yeah.
It was rumored to be after Mania, but we just had the transfer portal not even 2 months ago. Remember that?
Yeah.
I mean, they could use a draft or maybe another transfer portal. They can open it back up. You know, there's 3 or 4 in college football all year. Maybe they can have about 2 or 3 open up in WWE.
Honestly, would not hate for it to move to after SummerSlam because I feel like
They need it before, bro. We need it now.
yeah, well, I know, but I'm saying for the future because I think it will freshen some guys up in a new scene leading into WrestleMania, and that can help out with the Rumble in terms of, who could be a legitimate challenger. And
Yeah.
then you can bleed some of the WrestleMania stuff into SummerSlam and kind of start again after that. Because I've always thought like right after WrestleMania, it is a good time because WrestleMania is the finale. But we were talking about it earlier, they bleed some of the matches through to Backlash. So you get these brand splits where it's like, oh, we're done now because you're split up on brands right after WrestleMania, even though this could have been a match at Backlash. Instead, we're getting, Dom and Penta or something like that, for example.
Let me ask you one more thing before we move on, Micah. Was this your favorite wrestler versus non-wrestler match of all time?
Ooh, that's a good.
I got a couple.
Yeah, hit me with a couple just to like let me even the odds up.
Okay. Kurt Angle versus Shane McMahon, King of the Ring 2001.
Well, does Shane count though?
He's a non-wrestler.
I feel like he's got to be a little different than Pat though, because he had a good. I mean, like he held titles.
Well, wait, well, hold up now, Pat. He's trained. He's been trained, and he ain't no slouch in there. So if we don't count Shane, then we shouldn't be able to count Pat.
Okay, we'll leave Shane in there.
Okay. About well, dang, are we counting Vince then? Can we not
No,
count Vince?
Vince counts because that was a commodity. That was different.
Okay, Vince versus Hogan, WrestleMania 19.
All right, you hit me with another.
Oh, now I know because I know you hated this, so but I'll bring it up. Sami Zayn versus Johnny Knoxville,
Oh
WrestleMania
yeah,
39.
yeah, it was better than that
Okay.
by far. Uh
A Bad Bunny versus Damian Priest.
oh, that's a good one.
That was Backlash too, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think I'd put that one over this. This was still good. Hogan versus Vince is a strange case because I think objectively that match is not great, but the two people involved make
They
it.
told a great story.
Yeah. Shane and Kurt is great for a different reason, and that's because Kurt was such a great wrestler at the time, and Shane was willing to do anything with his body.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think they all probably deserve their own place. I probably would have to put Pat versus Gunther below all of those, maybe ahead of Kurt and Shane. But the Bad Bunny match, that's probably the best one.
Yeah. Of all time.
Because
Yeah.
the
I
crowd reactions, dude. Remember when Carlito came out?
They told such a good story though in this match. This is
They did.
This gonna be one. I don't know. It's probably not gonna win Match of the Year awards at the end of the year, but it's definitely gonna make my honorable mentions because I really enjoyed this.
Yeah. And not to mention that the story was great, and I thought that was so funny because people just wanted to hate on this, and it ended up being, a great match with a great story, and in the middle of a very good Raw scene currently. So to be probably the second best story on Raw right now is a thing to kind of rest your hat on.
But he's a MAGA grifter, Micah. You didn't know? We don't cheer for him.
So are all your favorite wrestlers, but how many times do we have to say that?
Hey man, I like Batman.
I don't involve myself in wrestlers' politics because it does nothing for me. So I really don't care. Pat gets WWE on ESPN. Pat is so entertaining on College Game Day, and the Pat McAfee show makes people respect wrestling, and Pat is very respectful of wrestling. So for that, at least I have to give him credit, even if his announcing isn't my favorite all the time. I think he's good at times. He gets a little too hokey others.
He does, but he seems like a genuine fan out there. And I mean, you can't knock his passion for the business because there's not a lot of guys that would go in there and stand toe to toe with Gunther while he's throwing those haymaking chops at your chest,
Yeah, exactly. So that brings us to the main event of the night for the WWE Championship, John Cena versus Randy Orton.
Man, this was everything it needed to be, and I had very low expectations going into this match, but they exceeded it, and they probably had one of their best matches that they've ever had together, Cena and Orton. And if this is how they cap off their rivalry, then it's gonna be remembered more fondly, from me at least.
I wasn't a fan, and I went back and watched it, and it put
You
me
just
to
hate
sleep.
fun. You hate fun.
I don't hate fun. The last match was fun.
You hated this. Explain yourself.
So first, let me give a shout. Wade Barrett talked about his commentary in the last match. I'm not sure if you caught this, but he was talking about how despicable John Cena's heel turn was, and Cole kind of called him on it and like the Nexus, and he was like, "Well, that's because he was a bad locker room leader. Randy was 10 times the locker room leader that he was." So I kind of still like that thread of Wade still hates John Cena because that was their first, and he had a comment that was like he was trying to get himself over on younger talent, and how many times have we talked about him doing that to Nexus?
Yeah.
I mean, the AA reverse into the RKO was a good spot. The fans were up for this.
It seemed like they were playing the old hits too, because that AA into the RKO they've done before, the shoulder block into the RKO they've done before, and Man, bro, I'm a kid of the Attitude Era, Micah. Ruthless Aggression Era. So the interference, the ref bumps, the tables, the belt shots, the low blows. If you don't do it in every match, it works. And if you save it for the main event, it works. And if you save it for two guys that are over, it's gonna work. And everything about this just worked. This was the complete opposite of what they tried to book at WrestleMania. This was actually really good. I'm just very surprised that you're not giving this match its flowers.
I thought after about the 10-minute mark, we really started relying on the tables and the ref bumps and finishers.
We have nothing else to do. Those guys are cooked, Micah, especially Cena. His knees are failing him. He can't do what he used to do. What did you want him to do in there? If he would have went out there and had the wrestling match that he had with Cody last month, you'd have been angry about that too, right?
I think that this was better than the match with Cody, but this went 28 minutes. This should have been about 18, and I think I would have thought a lot more favorably of it.
Did the crowd stay with him?
They did, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they need to keep going.
Usually, if the crowd dies out, then I would agree that, hey, they should have cut this down. But the crowd was locked in every single second of this match.
Well, the crowd was locked in for the Pat and Gunther match, but you don't think that should have been just shorter?
Nah, that's a good point.
I think if you cut it down and you don't do 3 ref bumps and 2 different table spots and a belt shot, like there was just so much going on after a while. Whereas if they had kind of wrestled for 10 minutes and then there was 8 minutes of,
10
the
minutes would put crowd to
preposterousness
sleep.
of it. They did, but they wrestled for like 10 minutes, and that's what put me to sleep. And then they did all the other bull crap that never woke me up. I woke up after trying to watch it for the second time, and Randy put him through the table on the outside, not the announce table. And then I fell back asleep and woke up when the belt shot was happening.
Bro, it's just they couldn't do the stuff that they did 15 years ago. They had to rely on the bells and whistles. And most people that watched this thought that it worked. The people in the arena thought that it worked. I think you're in the minority here that I think your hatred for Cena and Orton has just blinded you here.
The guy that I work with is a big Cena fan. He is hinging on all the stuff that Cena's doing. And I asked him what he thought about it, and he said he thought it sucked. He said he thought there was too much going on, and he just didn't care for it. And that was the same way that I felt.
Oh, come on.
Because okay, yes, the Attitude Era stuff, like I get it.
You remember how many run-ins and ref bumps Steve Austin matches had?
Well, yeah, but also the matches were like 15 minutes long. They weren't 30 minutes.
Well, some of them went about 20.
But 2, you've got Vince McMahon running out there, not Nick Aldis. I mean, I like Nick Aldis, but
it wasn't just Nick Aldis. It was Jamie Noble. Yeah, the Hurricane Helms was out there. Stop! Come on now, it's Nick Aldis.
I think that if Jon Moxley did not exist in the voting, John Cena would be my worst wrestler of the year.
I'm surely we can find somebody, right? Other than Cena, there's somebody else out there. Swerve.
I think this heel run has been a disastrous crash. I don't know. It's just not working for me, man. The segments that he has on TV, he ends up laying flat of his back every week. You know he's gonna win because it's his last. Like nobody thought that Randy had a chance in this match, which can be true for most guys that just won the title. But I think that hurts this because you know that Cena's getting out in December, and I'm so sick of. We talked about it on the stream. I'm so sick of you guys are at fault and you, the fans, are pieces. Like, dude, talk about the person that is in the ring with you having an issue with you. And to top that off, both of the matches he's had since he came back sucked. The best thing that I've seen from Cena since he came back was that little 5-minute segment with Punk in Elimination Chamber. And to apply the Charlotte rule, I've seen a lot more stuff of Punk's that I've liked than I have of Cena's. So I'm going to put the credit on that one to Punk.
Well, let me stop you right there, bro. This match did not suck. This was not the Cody Rhodes Cena match. This was booked well. The crowd was with him, and it seems to be universally praised online. I think you have your hatred boner for John Cena, and you can't let that go. I know the heel turn has stunk, Micah, but that doesn't mean that this match stunk. It was booked as perfect as you can book it with the limitations of both guys in the ring. And we did not hear Fiend at the end of the match. They retconned that. But now we got R-Truth playing the role of Travis Scott now. So what are you complaining about here?
I did like Truth's involvement.
Yeah.
It was better than the Cody Cena match, but I still don't think that by and large makes this great. I just thought it was here, and I think the same people that go online and say, "Oh, John Cena," like literally somebody in the comments of one of my videos was like, "That was such a fitting end to one of the greatest rivalries in sports entertainment history." No, no, go back and watch. Go back and watch wrestling. The feud sucked, and this match was probably the best that they could do. But
hold up, wait, hold up. If you said their feud sucked and you thought his match sucked, then maybe it was a fitting end.
well, there you go. That's like you said. Oh, I think this is one of their better matches that they've ever had. I can agree with you there. That's not exactly a high bar to jump over. I don't know, man. It didn't click for me. I'm really sick of Cena, and I feel like both world titles or major titles in both companies right now are being held hostage, and it aggravates me.
So you're just done with Cena altogether. You don't want to see Cena at all.
I'm done with the heel turn, man. Bring back the fruity pebbles. Like do your final shtick, and I mean, I've never been a big Cena guy, but it's like I told you a couple months ago when Kobe was doing his retirement tour and he went to Boston. After all those years of terrorizing Boston and taking rings from them, they still cheered Kobe. They're not gonna hate Cena.
Well, St. Louis was booing Cena.
But are they booing because they don't want him to win, or are they booing because they're in on the joke?
Well,
because like one of the guys in the front row had a sign that says it was our fault.
Well, that's the bro. Everybody's smart nowadays. So is anybody truly like? Does anybody have hatred for any of the heels on the show?
I think Ricochet actually gets like booed.
No, he doesn't. They're in on the joke. They laugh. They call him bald. Bro, this nobody truly hates Ricochet.
Maybe except Javon Evans.
Well, I mean, Ricochet's boss is a crackhead, but I digress. Yeah, bro, I just with all the limitations that Cena and Randy have, I don't think you can get any better as far as a layout of a match than what they did on Saturday. And we got our wish by them retconning Travis Scott out of this feud, out of the storyline. And we're getting the return of insane conspiracy theory R-Truth from 2011. Maybe we get the return of that for this 1 week build that they got for Saturday night's main event.
Well, for that, I could come around to liking that.
You think they'll CGI Travis Scott out of the future
Oh
broadcast
God.
and just put truth in there?
You know, I wouldn't hate it. I can agree that I didn't want to see Travis Scott, but I think if the match was 10 minutes shorter, it would have benefited. But Ryan, let me ask, 1 out of 10, what is your rating for Backlash?
I go 7.5, bro. I enjoyed the match. I enjoyed the show overall. It didn't overstay its welcome. It was a brisk, cool 2.5 hours. Thank goodness. We got 5 matches. And the only down part of the whole card was probably the Dom and Penta match. But overall, I don't think you can get much better as far as a tight, compact card as PLEs go. It kind of felt like an old school In Your House. I don't know if you watched any of the In Your Houses, Micah, but they were usually like 2.5 hours ish, and you didn't get the big storylines or huge matches like a SummerSlam would get. But you got some pretty decent matches and a decent card overall, and that's what Backlash kind of reminded me of.
Yeah, I can agree with you there, especially some of the like ones in '96 or whatever. And that's why I don't mind these tight cards for smaller shows. For the Summer Slams and stuff like that, yeah, I want a bigger card. I think if they had cut a couple minutes off the Pat match, a couple minutes off the Cena match, they probably could have slid a sixth in here. But I do like not having a 12 match card every single night. I'm gonna give it a. I'll give it a 7. It's hard for me to judge because I could be talked down to a 6 because the ending matters so much. But the undercard was really good. Like you said, the Dom Penta match was not earth shattering, but it wasn't bad by any stretch of the imagination. I'll actually I'm gonna drop it down to 6.5, but I thought it was overall pretty good. What would you say the best match of the night was for you, Ryan?
I'm going to Cena Orton. I just thoroughly enjoyed it. I enjoyed the shenanigans, the chicanery, the bells and whistles, especially when it's not overdone. When it is done, it's more special. And they saved it for the main event, and they saved it for 2 guys that are the biggest stars on the show. And yeah, man, I had a lot of fun watching it. Which it pains me to say, Micah, because I've never been a Cena fan, or a Orton fan. So yeah, man, they impressed me, and 5 stars for what they did on Saturday.
That's a 5-star match to you?
Oh yeah, I mean, in my cage match database, I voted 5 stars.
Hmm. I'm gonna say my match of the night was Pat and Gunther. I thought it was a very fitting end for a rivalry that I was very interested to see. Um, I will give a quick shout, Ryan, to this app that I downloaded the other day called Dropkicked. Have you heard about this?
I've seen it. I haven't been on it, but tell the viewers and listeners out there about Dropkick.
Well, I just downloaded it. You guys can follow me on there if you would like to. It's MXCAHH. Um, but it's kind of like a cage match reference without the, I guess, history of being cage match, which is lots of guys have been on there for years and they like the stuff that they like, and they very much are critical of WWE and all the other stuff on there. Typically, they've started to kind of come around to that recently. But it's kind of new. So they've got all the events on there. You can go in, rate the events, rate the matches. You can make a catalog. Like I have one on here of shows that I attended, put a catalog like that. So it's interesting. I would check it out if you're a wrestling fan. I have enjoyed it. And it's a good way also to keep track because like I have a bunch of lists of like my favorite wrestling matches, or when I was doing my Attitude Era watch through, like I was ranking pay-per-views and I thought, I was giving them a rating, and if I ever wanted to go back and look through it, I could. So this kind of streamlines all that. So if you're a wrestling fan, I would check it out. And no, they did not ask or pay me to say or promote any of this. I thought it was a cool app. And I think it's a team of like 3 guys that made it. So shouts to them.
Well said, Scoop.
Well, I appreciate it, Slam. But if you want to hear a Scoop and a Slam next week, you make sure to come back. We'll have our Raw, Dynamite, SmackDown review next week, as well as any other crazy, wacky, and wild things that happen in the wrestling world. Make sure you check out TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all that good stuff in the link below in the description. As always, take care of yourself over the weekend and have a good one.